Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's just start with the big announcement that really happened today, and that was to the income taxpayers. A lot was being said whether there will be any big respite for the middle class. It just seems for those who opted for the new income tax regime have a clear hands-up victory in this particular case, a big incentive possibly for those to move to the new income tax regime. In fact, in a major relief to the middle class, the Finance Minister, while presenting her Union Budget 2025, announced that there will be no income tax payable up to 12 lakh rupees, up to 12.75 lakh, including standard deductions under the new tax regime. New structure to substantially reduce taxes of middle class and leave more money in their hands, boosting household consumption, savings and investment.
Personal income tax reforms with special focus on middle class. Democracy, demography and demand are the key support pillars in our journey towards Vikasit Bharat. I am now happy to announce that there will be no income tax payable up to income of 12 lakh rupees. Average income of 1 lakh per month other than the special rate income such as capital gains under the new regime. This limit will be 12.75 lakh for salaried taxpayers due to the standard deduction of 75,000. Slabs and rates are being changed across the board to benefit all taxpayers. The new structure will substantially reduce the taxes of the middle class and leave more money in their hands, boosting household consumption, savings and investment. In the new tax regime, I propose to revise tax rate structures as follows: 0 to 4 lakh rupees nil, 4.8 lakh rupees to 4 to 8 lakh rupees 5%, 8 to 12 lakh rupees 10%, 12 to 16 lakh rupees 15%, 16 to 20 lakh rupees 20%, 20 to 24 lakh rupees 25%, and above 24 lakh rupees 30%. To taxpayers up to 12 lakh of normal income other than special rate income such as capital gains. I read that again. To taxpayers up to 12 lakh of income other than special rate income such as capital gains, tax rebate is being provided in addition to the benefit due to slab rate reduction in such a manner that there is no tax payable by them. The total tax benefit of slab rate changes and rebate at different income levels can be illustrated with a few examples. A taxpayer in the new regime with an income of 12 lakh rupees will get a benefit of 80,000 rupees in tax, which is 100% of tax payable as per the existing rates. A person having income of 18 lakh rupees will get a benefit of 70,000 rupees in tax, that is 30% of tax payable as per existing rates. A person with an income of 25 lakh gets a benefit of 1,10,000 rupees, that is 25% of his tax payable as per existing rates. Details of my tax proposals are given in the annexure. As a result of these proposals, Honorable Speaker, sir, revenue of about 1 lakh crore in direct taxes and 2,600 crores in indirect taxes will be foregone.
Well, the annual limit for TDS on rent has been raised from 2.4 lakh rupees to 6 lakh rupees, benefiting small taxpayers receiving smaller payments. Limit for tax deduction on interest for senior citizens has been doubled from 50,000 rupees to 1 lakh rupees. Threshold to collect tax at sources on remittances under RBI's liberalized remittance scheme raised from 7 lakh rupees to 10 lakh rupees. Well, there's lots more of highlights. Let's just very quickly take you through all the highlights with our guests as well. Let's just first listen into the reactions that have come in.
Continuing these efforts, I reaffirm the commitment of the tax department to trust first, scrutinize later. I also propose to introduce the new income tax bill next week.
Well, I'm being joined by Sanjeev Ahluwalia, who's a distinguished fellow with Chintan Research Foundation, S. Ravi, who's a founder for Ravi Ranjan and Co., as well as former chairman for BSC, Dr. Vandana Singh, who's an aviation entrepreneur, Rahul Bajaj, who's a CEO for the Digital Darwin, and Vinesh Menon, who's an education entrepreneur group, in Sujata Paul, spokesperson for Congress, Siddharth Sharma, who's a spokesperson for the Aam Aadmi Party, all of them joining us. We're also going to be joined by Aris Patania, who is with the BJP. Thank you very much, all of you, for joining us. Let's just try and understand the different nuances of what's really unfolded. As I said, there's lots more in stock as well. There's almost 100% of a cap that's been lifted for FDI in insurance. That's also going to be a big talking point that changes the landscape entirely for health insurance, as it were. That's going to be a very interesting thing. Announcements made for entrepreneurs, for the tech sector, for AI, for education, but we'll have to get a sense of how really game-changing really they are. But first, as I said, let's just straight start with you, Mr. S. Ravi. What do you make out of this? I mean, if there are people who are watching and, you know, instantly everybody asks, the first question they ask, if they were part of the old or earlier system of the tax regime and not the new tax regime, have they missed out on the rebate that's been announced? How would you explain this to the viewers who are watching now that it's a big jump from 7%, a no tax till the 7 lakh rupees per annum to now 12 lakh rupees per annum? That's quite a jump, wouldn't you say that?
Good afternoon. First of all, this has been unexpected, actually. Even in the pre-budget show with your channel, I had said that there will be an increase, but I did not expect, nobody expected this 12 lakh jump, which is a great step because it gives instant relief to many people. It is also a way to for the finance minister to clearly and categorically move towards the new tax regime. And also with the announcement of the direct tax new regime, which is going to come in a week or so, it is going to be a different sort of tax code, which will be structurally very simple, more rational, and it will be easy for everybody. So I think the attempt of the finance minister is to move away from the old tax regime and make them come into the new regime. That was the purpose. Even in the last budget, we saw that. And I think she's moving towards that direction.
So, Mr. Ravi, is it now clear that everyone who is part of the earlier system, most of them are going to move to the new system? I mean, is there anything left for somebody who wants to continue to be part of the earlier system? Is there any reason left for them? Because even if you look at the tax brackets and if you do the comparisons of it, you're paying much lesser, at least at the surface of it. Of course, the deductions and all of that will be eventually calculated. But from your experience, what do you really look at this?
I totally endorse what you have said. Actually, it is just people, they are incentivizing the SSE to move towards the new regime. There is nothing left in the old regime. And also with the new tax code, which will come in, it will totally take out the old tax regime. That is, I think, the whole purpose of the finance minister's direction. So, of course, there is no point in continuing with the old regime.
Oh, that's very interesting that you say, because there would be many, particularly in the salaried class, and if you were in the higher income group, because of all the refunds and the deductions that you could have initially taken recourse to earlier, would have actually opted for the earlier tax system, and that seems to be completely shaken up now. Sanjeev Ahluwalia, if I can get you in. For a very long time, the government did not really accept that there was sluggishness in the economy. There were data from different sources. There were different people who spoke of different things. The Prime Minister spoke different, government spoke different, but different data also showed different sets of variables. But consumption had kind of dipped. With what the Finance Minister has announced in this budget, do you see a big boost to that? Would things change? Is this also a way to kind of boost up the economy?
Yeah, I mean, whether you accept that there was sluggishness or not, the reaction to that comes from industry, it comes from consumer sentiment, comes from household sentiment. So I think that what the FM has done, if you remember, or if you were listening to this speech, she said good governance is all about being responsive. That's what she said. And I think she's acted on that because
And
she's
being
heard
light.
what people have been saying all along, that look, there is fairly stiff inflation, still affecting consumers and industry and everybody. And so a tax relief is about the best thing that she could possibly have done. I only wish that she had also reduced the high slab marginal tax rate, which is retained at 30%, which is actually more than what companies pay, because companies pay at 25%. That's probably something she's left for the next year. But I hope they'll actually think of, making the tax regime not coercive as she herself wants, but more as a collaboration between the 60 or 70 million odd taxpayers who pay income tax and the government. So I think reducing the tax is a great move because it leaves more money in people's pockets. And that's what will boost consumption demand. And that in turn will then give more confidence to industry to invest. And, then with investment, you get growth. So she had 5 targets that she wanted to meet. And one was to accelerate growth. Second was to secure inclusive development. There's a lot of that has been happening through the Modi regime over the last decade. Invigorate private investment. There hasn't been too much of that since 2019 when she reduced the marginal tax rate, right? Because one of the big ways in which the private sector can get into the economy is by disinvesting the public sector. And I think that's more or less on hold now.
Okay.
But another way, which the Prime Minister
Okay,
has...
Mr. Sanjeev Ahluwalia, before I just move to the other panelists, one question. So, she said that there's going to be so much deficit, there's going to be so much of loss in terms of what they were getting from income tax. This is what she has said. But long term, is it actually going to add up to the advantage of the government, considering how there's going to be a sweeping change, people moving to the new regime, and that's why you possibly look at a lower fiscal deficit, or we don't really know at this point how's the fiscal deficit going to be affected, because that's also a challenge.
No, I think, this is one FM that you have to believe. Her fiscal deficit, she's brought down. It's 4.9 this year, and she's brought it down to 4.4%. And generally, judging from her track record, she's a lady who sticks to what she promises. So the fiscal deficit will go down. There's no doubt about that. The fiscal deficit can go down in 2 ways. One is if the economy responds to these tax concessions and consumption rises with, GDP growth more than what we had this year. The fiscal deficit, because it's a ratio of, the deficit to the GDP, it automatically also goes down. So there are many ways of fixing that number. That's not that important at this stage because we still have the whole year to, run through. But what I like...
Let's have a look at that. Before I go to the other specialists, let me just quickly get in our political representatives here as well. Sujata Paul, let's go straight to you. You've got a thumbs up from the 2 panelists who are here, the specialists in their field. A big welcome for the income tax respites, a bonanza literally for the middle class, if that's what they are calling them. Seems to be a thumbs up from them, at least for what the announcements have been from the finance minister. How does the Congress look? Are you happy with the income tax respite, though? Sujata, you may have to unmute yourself.
Can you hear me now? Yes. So,
Yes, please go ahead.
yes. So when you talk about the tax slabs and the benefit that that people are going to get from it, let's be very clear about it that Delhi elections are round the corner, and that is the reason why this has been made. And this is going to affect a very small number of people. Where are the jobs? How many people are earning that kind of money? So when you talk about how much money is being earned, if you look at what has happened to the budget, the government has collected less revenue, and that is why it has reduced the capital expenditure. Isn't that a fact? Because what I can see is that 11.11 lakh crore was last year's capex budget estimate. However, it has been revised to 10.18 lakh crore. And why did it do it? Because obviously, if you look at the revenue receipts, the budget estimate 25 was 32.07 lakh crore, and the revised estimate is 31.47 lakh crore. So there is obviously a slowdown in the economy, which is clearly visible. There is lower tax collection, and we being a social welfare state, I am more concerned about the inflation, about employment generation, and the markets. Look at how the markets have responded. That is clearly an indication that immediately after the budget, if the market is showing this kind of sluggishness, and I believe, I don't know what it is right now, but when I checked a little while back, the Sensex was also down by a few points. And when you're talking about the dollar, for example, is there a roadmap about bettering the rupee? No, the rupee is down, and there is no roadmap for that. But if you look at what has happened as far as exports is concerned, because the basic custom duties have
No,
been
no, Sujata Paul, let me come in. Let me come in. We'll come to that. We'll come. Yeah, but just genuinely a question that I'm asking. I mean, because for the last two budgets that really were presented, every time the criticism was there was nothing for the middle class. The middle class seemed to be the highest taxpayer, but there was nothing in it for the middle class. That's what many people would come, even experts would come and say that. Has that been turned around this time?
That's a damn good question. And I'm saying a damn good question. Please read what I'm saying carefully, because when you're talking about the people who are going to be benefited, how many people are earning that kind of money? And it's all very well. And this has happened literally because in the Abhi, somebody said that good governance is all about being responsive, is what the FMS said. So it has taken 9 years for the finance minister and 10 years for the BJP government to realize this. Why? Because they have not got the kind of mandate that they were expecting 400 par. But the fact is that unless you bring down, your taxes and cesses on petroleum, inflation will not come down. Prices will not be under control. The slowing down of the economy is very, very clearly visible, and I don't think the government has a roadmap for that. And let me also say that one thing very great about the budget was that the budget speech was very short, probably because the finance minister doesn't have a clear vision as to how she can boost the economy.
I think Aris Patania, you have the right to speak. Please go ahead. Do you agree with what Sujata Paul is saying? And if, of course, you will not, how would you defend it then?
First of all, a very, very good afternoon to everybody on board. I have great respect for Sujata Pal, but he has certain compulsions. And I think she cannot move out of that or an iota of compulsions also. But let's be honest and be very frank, right? You see, the overall economic atmosphere within the country as well as on the global platform also. So the global markets have virtually slowed down, and the trading has not been so efficient and so proficient as it used to be in the last couple of years also. But the way we have focused
Aris
on...
Patania, sir, where are you going to the global sphere, sir? Let's talk about the budget and what's happening in the country today.
I'm coming to
Lots
it.
to talk about that.
I'm coming to it. The way we have focused on strengthening the domestic sector, may it be Skill India, 4.1 crore youth are going to be skilled. We have talked of agriculture also. 1 crore farmers to be introduced in natural farming. And once again, we have a whooping, ever increasing outlay of 1.52 lakh crores for the agriculture also. So the way we have started Purvodaya.
And big bonanza for pole-bound Bihar.
That's it. Purvodaya. This is the new scheme. This is the view. We have trailed the blaze. This new scheme is Purvodaya. Jharkhand, West Bengal, Bihar, Odisha, and Andhra Pradesh and Bihar also. So my submission means that this budget is in line with the global realities also. This budget means strengthening India. This means boosting India. This means building the capacity of India. And I have no qualms in admitting this, in submitting this, and rather professing this on your esteemed channel, that India is going to be a new global player in the manufacturing industry. This is what this budget aims for. This is what the budget aims for, making India a developed nation.
You haven't answered a very important question that Sujata Paul has actually asked. And will this curb slow down? I get what you are saying. Let me just go across for another political reaction to the Aam Aadmi Party spokesperson as well at this point, Siddharth Sharma, and then possibly I'll take the whole slowdown part to an expert as well. Siddharth Sharma, go ahead. How do you look at this? Are you benefiting from your income tax?
Yeah, in fact, Sneha, I was listening to when the finance minister was showing a few minutes ago, you were showing her speech when she was saying that up to 12 lakh rupees, they will get a benefit of 80,000 rupees. So that's the context, that's where I am picking this thread from. The point that BJP accepted Arvind Kejriwal's proposal to give tax rebate to middle class is a vindication of his demands. Now, why accept only one and not the others? Why no relief to middle class on home loans and vehicle loans? Why no farm loan waived off? GST could have been half. Why relief to middle class in a few thousand rupees only, when a small government like Delhi can give a benefit of 25,000 rupees a month, which is 3 lakh per year, with the goodies that we are giving? Now, Bihar has been given some sops. We accept that and we welcome that because of elections. Now, Delhi is also going through elections. Now the central government gets 1.75 lakh crore rupees a year from Delhi as tax revenue. In return, it gives back only 325 crores. It is like I handing over my 1.75 lakh salary to my Dadaji and my Dadaji pocketing everything and giving me back 325 rupees as pocket money. Now in Delhi for the last 10 years, despite zero tax. Now despite zero tax in Delhi, zero tax increase, the average Delhi wala's per capita income at 4.5 lakh rupees is better than an Indian's per capita income of 2.75 lakh rupees. Inflation at less than 2% in Delhi is better than Indian inflation at around 5%. A Delhi wala's life expectancy at 68 years is better than a Ghaziabad's life expectancy at 63 years. So basically, I think what has happened is that the economic survey of the BJP government presented in the parliament revealed two very important things. One is that food has become expensive, and the second is that the salary of the common man is still same as before COVID, while corporates earning have increased 15%. Both of these show that all the policies of Modi government are helping the rich move at the speed of an aeroplane, while the average middle class is moving at the speed of a scooty. It's as simple as that.
That's interesting. Actually, if you look at what Sujata Paul and you are saying, they almost are at the same dimension. So let me just get in Sanjeev Ahluwalia. Sanjeev Ahluwalia, how do you look at these allegations that are coming in? Of course, they're coming from political detractors. And this is the last question to you before we move into a break, and then we get into an all different aspect about the different highlights of the budgets, and that's where I have to come to each one of you. So Sanjeev Ahluwalia, about the slowdown, will the budget really help the economic sluggishness? You did speak about it, but if you want to touch about it again. And secondly, what you spoke about it, this is favouring the rich in a way. It's just a few thousands of a rebate for the middle class. Very quickly, a minute and a half to you, sir.
So, I kind of disagree there. You actually have a pretty significant middle class. And please don't forget that much of the white goods and, the consumption that happens is actually by the middle class, right? I mean, when foreign companies are coming into India, they are looking less at the ultra rich, but they're looking actually at the middle class. So you do have a consuming middle class, which is about 150 or 200 million strong. That's a large number. Now, that's people. But, in terms of households, of course, there would obviously be about maybe 40, 60 million households who would categorize as
Okay.
middle class. Now, all of them will benefit from the tax rebates that the finance minister has given. And it's not just that, there's also regulatory relief. There is better compliance with regulations. There is a general improvement in governance. Now, will all this help in pushing the growth from, 6% to 8%? Probably not. Now, if you want to reach 8% growth, there is a lot more that needs to be done, which is much more substantive. As I mentioned, one of them is that there are two ways to reach high growth. One is to invest more money into the economy. India is resource constrained. So the way you can find resources is by privatizing the public sector. But the government is not thinking of that. And I think that's a very big miss, which the government should take up at some point in future.
Okay, Mr. Sanjeev Ahluwalia, there seems to be something wrong with your frame. We've completely lost you. Okay, you're back. You're back. You could finish your sentence. Go ahead.
Okay. And so I was just saying that, privatization would be a very good thing to look at if you wanted to reach that 8% goal instead of being stuck at around 60% growth levels. And that would benefit everybody. It would benefit the poor the most. And remember one thing, that, you can't reach higher growth unless you tackle inflation. So if you're forced to tackle inflation, the people who benefit most are the poor, because their salaries, their wages are not indexed, unlike government servants.
We'll have to see really how this does affect inflation and how it affects the mobility in the economy for that matter. But thank you very much, all of you, for sticking on with us. Do stay tuned. As I said, there's several more highlights, including the 100% FDI that's been allowed into insurance, into the AI, education and entrepreneur sector. We're going to look into highlights of all of that. Time for a very short break. On the other side, we'll continue with this.
140 करोड़ भारतीयों की आकांक्षाओं का बजट है। ये हर भारतीय के सपनों को पूरा करने वाला बजट है। हमने कई सेक्टर्स युवाओं के लिए खोल दिए हैं। सामान्य नागरिक विकसित भारत के मिशन को ड्राइव करने वाला है। ये बजट एक फोर्स मल्टीप्लायर है। ये बजट सेविंग्स को बढ़ाएगा, इन्वेस्टमेंट को बढ़ाएगा, कंजम्पशन को बढ़ाएगा और ग्रोथ को भी तेजी से बढ़ाएगा। मैं वित्त मंत्री निर्मला सीतारमण जी और उनकी पूरी टीम को इस जनता जनार्दन का बजट, पीपल्स का बजट, इसके लिए बहुत बहुत बधाई देता हूं। साथियों, आमतौर पर बजट का फोकस इस बात पर रहता है कि सरकार का खजाना कैसे भरेगा, लेकिन ये बजट उससे बिल्कुल उल्टा है। लेकिन ये बजट देश के नागरिकों की जेब कैसे भरेगी, देश के नागरिकों की बचत कैसे बढ़ेगी और देश के नागरिक विकास के भागीदार कैसे बनेंगे, ये बजट इसकी एक बहुत मजबूत नींव रखता है। साथियों, इस बजट में रिफॉर्म की दिशा में महत्वपूर्ण कदम उठाए गए हैं। न्यूक्लियर एनर्जी में प्राइवेट सेक्टर को बढ़ावा देने का निर्णय बहुत ही ऐतिहासिक है। ये आने वाले समय में सिविल न्यूक्लियर एनर्जी का बड़ा योगदान देश के विकास में सुनिश्चित करेगा। बजट में रोजगार के सभी क्षेत्रों को हर प्रकार से प्राथमिकता दी गई है। लेकिन मैं दो चीजों पर ध्यान आकर्षित करना चाहूंगा। उन रिफॉर्म्स की मैं चर्चा करना चाहूंगा जो आने वाले समय में बहुत बड़ा परिवर्तन लाने वाले हैं। एक, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर स्टेटस देने के कारण भारत में बड़े शिप्स के निर्माण को बढ़ावा मिलेगा, आत्मनिर्भर भारत अभियान को गति मिलेगी। और हम सब जानते हैं कि शिप बिल्डिंग ये सर्वाधिक रोजगार देने वाला क्षेत्र है। उसी प्रकार से देश में टूरिज्म के लिए बहुत संभावना है। महत्वपूर्ण 50 टूरिस्ट डेस्टिनेशन, वहां पर जो होटल्स बनाएंगे, उस होटल को पहली बार इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर के दायरे में लाकर टूरिज्म पर बहुत बल दिया है। इससे हॉस्पिटैलिटी सेक्टर को, जो रोजगार का बहुत बड़ा क्षेत्र है, और टूरिज्म जो रोजगार का सबसे बड़ा क्षेत्र है, एक प्रकार से चारों तरफ रोजगार के अवसर पैदा करने वाला एक क्षेत्र को ऊर्जा देने वाला काम करेगा। आज देश विकास भी विरासत भी इस मंत्र को लेकर चल रहा है। इस बजट में भी इसके लिए भी बहुत महत्वपूर्ण और ठोस कदम उठाए गए हैं। 1 करोड़ पांडुलिपियों के लिए संरक्षण के लिए, मैन्युस्क्रिप्ट के लिए ज्ञान भारतम मिशन लॉन्च किया गया है। साथ ही भारतीय ज्ञान परंपरा से प्रेरित एक नेशनल डिजिटल रिपोजिटरी बनाई जाएगी। यानी टेक्नोलॉजी का भरपूर उपयोग किया जाएगा और हमारा जो परंपरागत ज्ञान है उसमें से अमृत निचोड़ने का भी काम होगा। साथियों, बजट में किसानों के लिए जो घोषणा हुई है वो कृषि क्षेत्र और समूची ग्रामीण अर्थव्यवस्था में नई क्रांति का आधार बनेगी। पीएम धन धान्य कृषि योजना के तहत 100 जिलों में सिंचाई और इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर का डेवलपमेंट होगा। किसान क्रेडिट कार्ड की लिमिट 5 लाख तक होने से उन्हें ज्यादा मदद मिलेगी। साथियों, अब इस बजट में 12 लाख रुपए तक की आय को टैक्स से मुक्त कर दिया गया है। सभी आय वर्ग के लोगों के लिए टैक्स में भी कमी की गई है। इसका बहुत बड़ा फायदा हमारे मिडिल क्लास को, नौकरी पेशे करने वाले जिनकी आय बंधी हुई है, ऐसे लोगों को, मिडिल क्लास को इससे बहुत बड़ा लाभ होने वाला है। उसी प्रकार से जो नए नए प्रोफेशन में आए हैं, जिनको नए नए जॉब मिले हैं, इनकम टैक्स की ये मुक्ति उनके लिए एक बहुत बड़ा अवसर बन जाएगी। साथियों, इस बजट में मैन्युफैक्चरिंग पर 360 डिग्री फोकस है ताकि एंटरप्रेन्योर्स को, एमएसएमईज को, छोटे उद्यमियों को मजबूती मिले और नई जॉब पैदा हो। नेशनल मैन्युफैक्चरिंग मिशन से लेकर क्लीन टेक, लेदर, फुटवियर, टॉय इंडस्ट्री जैसे अनेक सेक्टर्स को विशेष समर्थन दिया गया है। लक्ष्य साफ है कि भारतीय प्रोडक्ट्स ग्लोबल मार्केट में अपनी चमक बिखेर सके। साथियों, राज्यों में इन्वेस्टमेंट का एक वाइब्रेंट कॉम्पिटिटिव माहौल बने, इस पर बजट में विशेष जोर दिया गया है। एमएसएमईज और स्टार्टअप के लिए क्रेडिट गारंटी को दोगुना करने की घोषणा भी हुई है। देश के एससी, एसटी और महिला जो नए उद्यमी बनना चाहते हैं, उनको 2 करोड़ रुपए तक के लोन की योजना भी लाई गई है, और वो भी बिना गारंटी। इस बजट में न्यू एज इकोनॉमी को ध्यान में रखते हुए गीग वर्कर्स के लिए बहुत बड़ी घोषणा की गई है। पहली बार गीग वर्कर्स का ई श्रम पोर्टल पर रजिस्ट्रेशन किया जाएगा। इसके बाद इन साथियों को स्वास्थ्य सेवा और दूसरी सोशल सिक्योरिटी स्कीम्स का लाभ मिलेगा। ये डिग्निटी ऑफ लेबर, इसके प्रति श्रम एव जयते के प्रति सरकार के कमिटमेंट को दर्शाता है। रेगुलेटरी रिफॉर्म से लेकर फाइनेंशियल रिफॉर्म्स, जन विश्वास 2.0 जैसे कदमों से मिनिमम गवर्नमेंट और ट्रस्ट बेस्ड गवर्नेंस के हमारे कमिटमेंट को और बल मिलेगा। साथियों, ये बजट न केवल देश की वर्तमान आवश्यकताओं को ध्यान में रखता है, बल्कि हमें भविष्य की तैयारी करने में भी मदद करता है। स्टार्टअप के लिए डीप टेक फंड, जियोस्पेशियल मिशन और न्यूक्लियर एनर्जी मिशन ऐसे ही महत्वपूर्ण कदम है। मैं सभी देशवासियों को एक बार फिर इस ऐतिहासिक पीपल्स बजट की बधाई देता हूं, और फिर एक बार वित्त मंत्री जी को भी बहुत बहुत बधाई देता हूं। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
Well, the Prime Minister is saying this is a budget, it's a people's budget, and the focus has been not on increasing the revenue for the country, rather getting money into the pockets of the people. Let's very quickly get in political reactions to this. Sujata Paul, how do you respond to what Prime Minister Modi has said? Because you said there's nothing much in it for it, but here Prime Minister is saying this is a people's budget and the focus has been to get money into the pockets of people.
Every year it said that this is a historic budget, and I can't stop laughing at that. And this time he says it's no longer minimum governance but trust-based governance. Or it was no longer minimum governance but maximum governance. So I really don't know whether he just wants to, to mask everything by dressing it up in some manner. Now, when he spoke about farmers, he was talking about farmers just now. You remember he had promised that farmers' incomes would be doubled by 2022, but you know very well that that hasn't happened. So what you're doing is you're making a fresh claim of increasing farm income and improving the ilk of farmers. Now, if you're talking about tourism, I'll give you one example. I come from Uttarakhand. Now, there is no planning, no vision as far as tourism is concerned. Because in states, in the hill states, you do not send people to the hills during winters. He has been promoting that. So the fact is that everything that the Prime Minister is saying today is repackaging of what was done earlier. We have become from Make in India, which he said...
repackaging. He says this is a bill of reform. This is a budget for reforms. You are saying this is a budget of repackaging. Very quickly, Siddharth Sharma, how do you look at this? Siddharth Sharma, are you there with us? Okay, Siddharth Sharma is not there. R.S. Pathania, very quickly.
Yes.
Congress, your political detractors saying this is nothing but a repackaged budget.
I see the Congress suffers from a paradox, and Congress suffers from a cobweb of compulsions also. I said it earlier also, this budget sets up the foundation for a new Atmanirbhar Bharat. For the first time, such a big show on capital expenditure. So it will build infrastructure and it will create jobs also. Middle class has been benefited. Agriculture sector has been benefited. 1 crore houses for the urban poor. And Jammu and Kashmir, which has got 42,000 crores budget and all-time high. And Jammu and Kashmir police also. My respectful submission means that this budget, all said and done, if we focus on the biggest
So,
initiative
but
of this
Congress
budget,
is saying
this
exactly
budget
that.
transforms
You were
India
forced to
into a
reduce your capex review. You were forced to review your capex, is what the Congress has been saying.
You see,
You're bragging about it. Congress is saying that, listen, you were forced to it because there was no other way for the BJP and for the budget.
I seek to put a counter question to the worthy members of the Congress and to everybody across the board and to all the experts also. In the changing global economic scenarios, Bharat has been pushed to the center stage. India should be now, within a few time from now, a big manufacturing guide across the globe. A big manufacturing guide. This is the biggest leap on the manufacturing sector.
All right, sir. I'm being pushed and pressurized by my team to take a break. So I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt you at this point. Time for a very short break and we'll continue this after the break. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Very quickly going across to our specialists at this point. Dr. Vandana Singh, good evening. Thank you very much for your patience and your time. My first question to you, and this would possibly, I'll give you 2-3 minutes to speak about this. A lot has been said about the aviation sector as well. I mean, let's just say 120 new airports to be connected in a span of 10 years. Udan scheme, as many as 88 cities to get airports for that matter, a greenfield in pole-bound Bihar, that's of course the highlight of it all. But this year has not been easy for the aviation sector. We saw some very troublesome times for the aviation sector, extremely troublesome times about how passengers were treated, about how aircrafts were late, in fog season, in winter season, out of it. It was a very troublesome week. Do you see any of these announcements really work out on the ground given the condition of how the aviation sector is today?
Good afternoon, Sneha, and to the esteemed audience. Thank you for having me on your show. First of all, as the citizen of India, I would like to really commend the Finance Minister for really nailing it. I see it as a progressive, a reformatory, inclusive, and a growth-oriented budget that's been rolled out. Now, coming to the aviation industry, yes, she has spoken about the revamped Udan scheme. As we know, this Ude Desh Ka Aam Nagrik scheme has been on since 2016, and this needed a major revamping, a major rehauling. And if this comes into place in tandem with the hospitality sector and the tourism boost that has been spoken about, then the airline industry, the aviation industry has everything to cheer about. We are talking about 120 new destinations. We are talking about tier 2 and tier 3 cities. And I'm looking at the positive side of it because I'm an ever optimist here. Not only will it include increase the affordability, but also boost the economic growth. Yes, there has been turbulence.
Right.
As you rightfully mentioned, in the aviation industry, we've recently seen what happened at Mahakumbh and is currently happening. That is cheaper going to Paris than to Prayagraj. We all know that everything is moving in that direction. But let's not forget that also is coming because of lack of competition. With just 2 players in the Indian skies and a handful of charters, this was expected. But moving forward, when we're talking of revamping and rehauling this whole Udan scheme, then you're looking at capping of fares as well, which means that there will be some sort of a regulation that will come.
That's interesting.
It has not been spoken about in detail, but very much it would be in a sense as we move forward, because once this capping is done, and there is a ceiling rate and a base rate given, then something dynamic, something hybrid is going to come out, which is going to help the passengers. Also, the states competing with each other. definitely something is going to come out of it. When we talk of air turbine fuel, there may be a little reform over here. Of course, there was a central 11% tax on it. It may come down to 6 or 7%. We are yet to see that. But the fact of the matter and matter of the fact, she mentioned that this is being revamped and rehauled. And I expect to see good news all the way, whether it's viability gap funding,
That's
whether
going to be
it's capped
interesting. And
fare,
it's interesting also, Dr. Vandana, saying that you're saying that there may be cap on fares. That's going to be very interesting to see if that really works out, because we have been seeing, including during the Mahakumbh time, about how fares have, I don't know how many times risen. Some have even said up to 10 times. So that's really something to watch out for. We'll have to see how that pans out. Very quickly, Rahul Bajaj, and I'm being told to wrap up, but both of you have been waiting very patiently. You could blame it on the Prime Minister for coming up with this speech during our show. But Rahul Bajaj, if I can ask you, how do you look at, and we've discussed many times, we've discussed about the entrepreneurial spirit of India, we've discussed the tech industry, the startups. How do you look at what's been offered? Is it enough?
Thank you so much for having me on the show. And I would agree with Dr. Vandana that this is a progressive budget, if we look at it. A number of steps that were expected for the startups and tech industry. This government has been supporting these startups with various different missions. So it was expected that there will be a continuity. So if we see that the benefits for startups have been continued till 2030, that was again on the expected lines. Push for the global capability centers to the tier 2 cities. Now, that is something which is really, really very important, because a lot of good talent comes from those particular cities. So a positive step on that.
Right.
Something which India had been lacking on the AI side. So a COE in the AI sector with a 500 crore allocation outlay for that. That's important. Now it needs to be seen how that AI for public good will be done. Very important stuff that that was announced was that there will be an exploration on looking at a deep tech fund, because that is something where the focus has still not been. And if at all,
I'll have to wrap in 30 seconds, sir.
Sure, and if at all India has to compete with the likes of China and US in the AI race, then focus on the deep tech is something which is very much needed. So in all, it's a good positive budget, move in the right direction, I would say.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much to our panelists. I really apologize. This is how TV is. Sometimes we just have unexpected speeches and reactions that come in. But thank you very much for joining us, Dr. Vandana, Sujata Paul, as well as Rahul Bajaj. Up next, Shreya Dondial with all the latest, particularly about how you should be looking at your income tax.